You really thought you could just walk away? Valerie chuckled, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against my resignation letter before she balled it up tightly. The paper crunched sickeningly as she squeezed it like fragile bones breaking. I stayed frozen, watching 5 years of dedication and professional effort thrown casually into her wastebasket. But I handed in my 2 weeks' notice, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. I've also trained Michelle. Michelle lacks your unique talents, Valerie interrupted, leaning forward over her glass desk. The Xiao collection lands next week. The Japanese buyers arrive Thursday. The exhibition opens in 3 weeks. Her voice dropped to a near whisper. You know far too much about our operation, Iris. You're not going anywhere. My heart thumped in my chest as I caught the threat hidden beneath her words. 5 years of suspicion crystallized in that instant. I wasn't just an employee. I was trapped by what I knew. Perhaps you should check the parking lot, I suggested softly. Valerie's flawless eyebrows knit together in puzzlement. She rose slowly and walked to the window, parting the blinds with 2 fingers. Outside, 3 unmarked black SUVs had pulled up to the entrance. Men and women in plain clothes stepped out, moving with precision and coordination. When she turned back, her face had drained of color. What have you done? She hissed. What you taught me to do? I answered. I protect valuable assets. Her hand shot toward the drawer holding her external drive with client records, but I just smiled. The fury flooding her face confirmed everything I had suspected for years. A knock broke our tense standoff. Garrett from security appeared at the doorway. Miss Valerie, there are people in the lobby asking for you. They say it's urgent. Something about art authentication records. I'm busy, she snapped. They insist, Garrett replied, shifting uneasily. They have documents. Valerie's eyes darted from the window, to me, to the doorway. I could see her calculating, weighing escape routes. Plausible deniability. Who to blame? Whatever they think they know won't stick, she muttered, voice low and menacing as she brushed past me. I'll be back this afternoon, and when I return, you'll regret ever trying this. As she reached the door, I called after her. Every collector you deceived received a package yesterday. Inside, proof their cherished pieces were worthless. And exactly who sold them fakes? She froze. Those weren't just any clients. I continued. They had connections. They had resources. People who do not take kindly to being fooled. The glare she threw over her shoulder burned with such pure hatred that a younger version of me might have crumbled. But I wasn't that person anymore. By now they've compared notes. I said, the investigators aren't your worst problem. If you're shocked by what's unfolded so far, hit that like button and subscribe to follow the rest. The story of how I took down my boss is only beginning, and trust me, you won't believe what I uncovered in her secret files. My name is Iris Lockwood. Until yesterday, I was the lead authenticator at Preston Auction House, one of the city's most prestigious art and antiquities firms. I possess what people in my field call the gift. An eye for detail so precise that I can spot a forgery even advanced tech misses. Brushstrokes, pigment layering, the way light moves through glazes. I notice what others overlook. That gift made me valuable. It also made me dangerous. I grew up in foster care with nothing to my name, which perhaps explains my fixation on provenance, the documented history proving an object's authenticity and ownership. In my world, provenance is everything. Without it, even the most exquisite piece is worthless, suspect. Like people, objects carry their histories in both visible and hidden ways. The antiques passing through our auction house have survived wars, fires, relocations, thefts. They bear witness, and if you know how to listen, they tell their tales. I joined Preston 5 years ago, hungry and ambitious. Back then, Valerie seemed like a mentor. She'd glide across the auction floor in her tailored suits, educating clients on the difference between Ming and Qing dynasty porcelain, while dropping just enough art history to impress without intimidating. I wanted to be her. The first 2 years were blissful. I authenticated everything from Renaissance paintings to Art Nouveau jewelry. When my assessment saved clients from purchasing forgeries, Valerie publicly praised my eye. When wealthy collectors specifically requested my verification before buying, she appeared proud. The first crack appeared 3 years ago. A Japanese scroll painting arrived via private channels, purportedly from the Kamakura period. Something about the silk backing felt off. The weave was tight but inconsistent, suggesting modern production methods. I rejected it. 2 weeks later, I overheard Valerie on the phone assuring someone the scroll had been authenticated by our top specialist. My name was mentioned. The scroll had sold for 1.2 million. When I confronted her, she brushed it off. A miscommunication. A different scroll. Perhaps I had been too cautious. The buyer was satisfied. Isn't that what mattered? I let it go. A mistake, I thought. Then came the Haman watercolors, the Novak bronze, the Tang Dynasty ceramic pieces I had rejected, which mysteriously found buyers through private channels. Each time I voiced concerns, Valerie grew more distant. She scheduled me away from high-profile viewings, questioned my assessments in front of colleagues. Clients who had once requested me specifically were told I was unavailable. I was being isolated. But why? The breaking point came last month. A supposedly rare 18th century Chinese vase arrived for assessment before a private sale. I recognized it immediately, not as authentic, but as the same forgery I had rejected a year earlier. Only now it carried certification papers with my signature, perfectly forged. She had been using my reputation to authenticate counterfeits for private collectors. That night, I stayed late. Using my access codes, I pulled files on every private sale from the past 3 years. The pattern was undeniable. Valerie had been running a sophisticated fraud operation right under everyone's noses. Here's how it worked. Authentic pieces arrived. I authenticated them. But for certain wealthy clients who prized discretion above all else, Valerie offered special opportunities. Identical forgeries at slightly reduced prices. These collectors thought they were getting insider deals. In reality, they were buying fakes, while the genuine pieces went to overseas buyers paying premium prices. My signature, real or forged, provided the provenance that made it all possible. I began gathering evidence. I photographed suspicious items after hours, created hidden marks on pieces I examined, microscopic identifiers that wouldn't alter appearance but would prove they passed through my hands. I compared my actual assessments with the official ones in the system. All I needed was proof that Valerie knew this wasn't a mistake or someone else's scheme. I found it in her calendar. Encrypted meetings with a man named Damon, always following private sales of items I had rejected. An art restorer whose specialty was period-appropriate reproductions. I followed her one evening to his workshop, photographing them together, examining a ceramic piece I had authenticated the previous week. They were creating copies, perfect copies. 2 nights ago, I accessed Valerie's computer using the password I had observed her enter countless times. In her emails, I found everything. Arrangements with forgers, communications with unscrupulous dealers, spreadsheets tracking fake versus authentic pieces. Most damning were the emails to clients, assuring them of my personal verification on pieces I had never even seen. I forwarded everything to my personal email. Then I contacted the Art Crimes Investigation Unit. "You look lost in thought," a voice interrupted my reverie. Agent Teresa Lin stood in Valerie's doorway, her badge hanging from a lanyard around her neck. "She's being taken in for questioning. Wanna watch?" I shook my head. "I've seen enough of her." Teresa nodded. Smart move with the collectors. Getting them involved really sealed it. People hate being lied to, I said, standing up. Especially rich people. We'll need you to come in, too. Statement, formal interview, the works. I know. As I gathered my belongings, preparing to leave Preston Auction House for the last time, a text message appeared on my phone. Unknown number. You're making a grave mistake. I'm not the only one involved. Back off now or you'll regret it. Some secrets should stay buried. I showed Teresa the message. Her expression darkened. This changes things, she said quietly. Looks like your boss has friends in concerning places. Before I could respond, Preston's owner, 80-year-old William Preston himself, appeared in the doorway. His face was ashen. Iris, he said, his voice trembling slightly. My office now? I glanced at Teresa, who nodded slightly. What's happening, William? I asked as I followed him down the hall. He waited until his door closed behind us. The Japanese buyers just called. They're pulling out of next week's auction. And the Xiao family, they're demanding authentication records for everything they've purchased through us in the past decade. He slumped into his chair. This could ruin us. 40 years of reputation gone. I felt a pang of guilt, then pushed it aside. Valerie did this. Not me. Valerie doesn't act alone, he whispered, suddenly looking older than his years. Never has. My stomach clenched. What are you saying? William opened his desk drawer and removed a single photograph, sliding it across to me. It showed a much younger Valerie standing beside a young man, arms around each other, both smiling at the camera. That's my son, William said softly. Valerie's husband. I stared at the photo in shock. Husband? But she's not. They keep it quiet. Married 15 years. He runs our Asian market operations from Beijing. My mind raced. If Valerie's husband was William's son, and he ran the Asian operations, the forgeries. I breathed. They weren't just being sold here. William's eyes met mine, full of something between resignation and warning. You've opened a door, Iris, he said quietly. But you have no idea what's on the other side. The photo trembled in my hand. William's son, Valerie's husband. The missing piece that explained how deep this operation truly went. Does Agent Lin know about this connection? I asked, my voice barely audible. William's tired eyes searched mine. What do you think happens to this company if this gets out? 300 employees lose their jobs. Thousands of legitimate pieces lose their provenance value because they pass through our hands. I placed the photo carefully back on his desk. You're asking me to stop. I'm asking you to understand what you're doing. His age-spotted hand reached for mine. Iris, you've always been exceptional. Your gift. It's remarkable. But there are larger considerations. I pulled my hand away. Like keeping a criminal operation running, like measured consequences, he countered. Like controlled disclosure that doesn't destroy everything. My phone buzzed again. Another text. We know where you live. Back off now. I showed William the screen. His face crumpled. This isn't Valerie, he whispered. She wouldn't. Then who? Before he could answer, Agent Lin knocked and entered without waiting. Iris, we need to move you now. Someone just accessed your personnel file from a remote location. Your home address has been compromised. William stood. This is getting out of hand. Perhaps if I speak with Sir Teresa, cut him off firmly. This is now an active federal investigation involving international art fraud, money laundering, and criminal threats. If you interfere, you'll be charged as an accessory. The color drained from William's face. I've built this company from nothing. Then help us clean it up, Teresa replied, her tone softening slightly. Starting with your son's involvement. William seemed to age 10 years in 10 seconds. He's in Beijing, unreachable. Not to Interpol, Teresa said. As we left William's office, the auction house hummed with nervous energy. News traveled fast. Employees huddled in small groups, whispering behind cupped hands. A few gave me supportive nods. Others glared with open hostility. Melanie from accounting intercepted us in the hallway. "Iris, what's happening? Police are downloading our transaction records." "Art fraud investigation," I said simply. Her eyes widened. "The Preston East-West channel?" "Teresa's." Attention snapped to her. "What do you know about that?" Melanie glanced around nervously. "Just that there's a separate accounting system for certain Asian market transactions. Valerie told me never to include them in quarterly reports." Teresa pulled out her notepad. "We'll need to talk." As Melanie led Teresa to her office, I felt a presence behind me. Turning, I found Reed, our head of security, standing too close. "You should have left well enough alone," he said quietly. "You knew." His expression hardened. Everyone at the top knew. It's how this business works. Selling forgeries isn't how business works. Reed's laugh was cold. "You think this is just about forgeries? Wake up, Iris. Art is the perfect vehicle for moving money internationally. Subjective value, minimal custom scrutiny. The forgeries were just a bonus revenue stream." My mind raced. "Money laundering? Keep your voice down," he hissed, gripping my arm. "Do you know who some of these clients are? People who make problems disappear." I tried to pull away, but his fingers dug deeper. "Let go of me." "You need to fix this," he whispered. "Tell the feds you made a mistake." Evidence was misinterpreted. "Whatever it takes." Read. Teresa's sharp voice cut through the tension. "Step away from her now." He released my arm, raising his hands in mock surrender. "Just having a friendly chat." "Save it for your formal interview," Teresa replied, moving between us, "which will be happening shortly." Reed's eyes never left mine. "Think about what I said, Iris. Some messes can't be cleaned up." As Teresa guided me toward the exit, my phone buzzed with an incoming email. The sender, Valerie's husband, Cameron Preston. Subject line: "We should talk alone." The body contained only an address and a time: 8 p.m. tonight. I showed Teresa, who immediately shook her head. "Absolutely not. This could be our chance to understand how far this goes." "It's an obvious trap," she countered. "We'll bring him in properly through channels. He'll never talk in an official setting." I argued. "But me? I'm just the authenticator who ruined his wife's career. He might say things to me he'd never tell investigators." Teresa studied me for a long moment. "You're not trained for this." "I've been handling dangerous people and objects my whole career," I replied. "I know how to verify what's real and what's fake." 4 hours later, against Teresa's better judgment, but with a wire beneath my shirt and the surveillance team in position nearby, I walked into an upscale bar downtown. Cameron Preston sat alone at a corner table, a glass of amber liquid before him. He looked remarkably like the younger man in the photograph, just weathered by time and secrets. He didn't stand when I approached. "The famous Iris Lockwood," he said, gesturing to the chair opposite him. "The woman with the perfect eye." I sat down carefully. "Cameron Preston, you've caused quite the commotion." He sipped his drink. "My father is devastated. My wife is being interrogated. 20 years of careful business relationships are in jeopardy. Forgery and fraud tend to have that effect." A tight smile crossed his face. "Is that what you think this is about?" "Some fake paintings and antiquities." "Enlighten me." Cameron leaned forward. "Do you know what's happening to cultural artifacts across Asia right now? They're disappearing. Looted from museums, stolen from archaeological sites, smuggled out of countries with strict export prohibitions. And you're what? Rescuing them?" His laugh was bitter. "We're keeping them in circulation where they can be appreciated instead of locked in government warehouses or destroyed by extremists. The legitimate market can only handle properly documented pieces, but there's an entire shadow world of masterpieces with complicated histories. Stolen art, I clarified. Art with incomplete provenance, he corrected smoothly. Our clients don't care about paperwork. They care about beauty and historical significance. And money laundering, I added. Reed filled me in. Cameron's jaw tightened at the mention of Reed's name. A necessary accommodation for certain collectors. The point is, we provide a valuable service in a complicated market by selling forgeries only to people who deserve them, he said with a cold smile. The fakes go to the show-offs, the social climbers who buy art as status symbols but don't truly understand it. The real pieces go to serious collectors who value discretion. I leaned forward, and my signature on the authentication papers made it all possible. You have a gift, Iris. Your eye is the finest I've encountered in 20 years. He tilted his head slightly. We could use that gift. Properly compensated, of course. You're offering me a job after everything that's happened. I'm offering you an opportunity. This doesn't have to end badly for you. The threat beneath his words was unmistakable. What about Valerie? Your wife is facing serious charges. Cameron waved it off. Valerie will be fine. First-time offender. Cooperating with authorities. Minimum security. Out in 3 years. Maybe less. The casual way he discussed his wife's imprisonment sent a chill through me. You don't sound concerned. Business arrangements evolve. So do marriages. He finished his drink. What matters now is containing this situation before it spreads further. And if I refuse to help contain it? His eyes hardened. Then I can't protect you from what comes next. Are you threatening me? I'm educating you. Cameron placed a thumb drive on the table. This contains offshore account details. $5 million, untraceable enough to vanish somewhere pleasant. Change your name. Start over. I stared at the drive. In exchange for what? Your testimony stating you misinterpreted the evidence, that in your zeal to punish Valerie over personal grievances, you jumped to conclusions. That further investigation revealed no systemic fraud. You want me to lie? I want you to reconsider which truth serves you better. He slid the drive closer. 5 million reasons to reconsider. I picked it up, rolling it between my fingers. Teresa and her team would be listening, recording every word. The drive itself would be powerful evidence. What about the collectors who received forgeries? They already know they were defrauded. Cameron smiled thinly. Those relationships are being managed. Replacement pieces offered. Discretionary bonuses extended. Bribes. Compensation for misunderstandings, he corrected. Most of our clients value privacy far more than any single artifact. They'll cooperate. I slipped the drive into my pocket. I'll need time to think. Don't take too long. This offer expires at midnight. He stood buttoning his jacket. And Iris. I know about the wire. I know Agent Lynn and her team are listening. That changes nothing. My offer stands. My blood ran cold. If he knew about the wire. One last thing, he said, leaning in to whisper. We've been watching you for years. We know about the Moretti incident. Your first year in the business. The piece you authenticated that turned out to be fake. The mistake you buried. I stiffened. No one knew about that. No one. Except the money, Iris, he murmured. Or everything comes out. Everything. He straightened, smiled pleasantly for anyone watching, and walked away. I sat frozen, my past rising like a ghost I thought I'd buried. The Moretti painting. My first major authentication. I'd been so sure, so confident, until tests revealed modern pigments impossible for a 17th century work. By then, it had sold for millions. My supervisor had covered for me, altered records, protected me. Or so I believed. If Cameron knew about Moretti, what else did he know? My phone buzzed with a message from Teresa. Get out now. Meeting compromised. Exit through the kitchen. As I stood to leave, a hand clamped onto my shoulder. I turned to see Reed, his expression grim. He told you about Moretti, he said. Not a question. How do you? Because I'm the one who told him. Reed's voice was low, regret heavy in it. They have dirt on everyone, Iris. That's how this works. That's how it's always worked. Before I could respond, the bar's front doors burst open. 3 men in dark suits entered, scanning the room with practiced precision. Not police, not federal agents. Reed shoved me toward the kitchen. Run. Now. I ran. Behind me, I heard Reed shout at the men, buying me seconds. A crash, raised voices, then silence as the kitchen door slammed shut behind me. The alley outside was empty. No surveillance team, no Teresa. I was alone. My phone buzzed. Change of plans. Safe house compromised. Go to emergency location B. Trust no one. As I stared at the message, another text appeared beneath it. Don't trust previous message. Agency systems hacked. Meet at original extraction point. T. My heart pounded. Which was real? Who was compromised? Where was safe? The kitchen door banged open behind me. I ran. Night had fallen as I cut through back alleys, ducking behind dumpsters whenever headlights swept past. Rain started pouring, soaking my blouse, plastering my hair to my face. The wire Teresa had given me was useless now, if it had ever worked at all. I needed somewhere to think, somewhere safe. My apartment was compromised. FBI extraction points were questionable. Anyone connected to Preston Auction House was potentially involved. With every passing minute, my world shrank. I ended up at the downtown train station, a cavern of late-night travelers. Anonymous, public, cameras everywhere. I bought a ticket to nowhere with cash and slipped into the women's restroom to take stock. The person staring back at me in the mirror looked like a stranger. Hair wild. Mascara streaked down pale cheeks. Eyes wide with adrenaline and fear. I splashed cold water on my face and forced myself to think. My phone vibrated again. Last chance, Iris. Take the money, disappear, or we release everything we have on you. As I stared at the screen, a call came through. Teresa. Don't tell me where you are, she said immediately. Our operation is compromised at multiple levels. Someone with serious access is working against us. Cameron knew about the wire, I whispered. How could he know? Unless we have a mole, Teresa confirmed. And not just in my team. This is high-level interference. This goes beyond art fraud. Iris, we've uncovered links to international money laundering for extremely dangerous people. What do I do? My voice sounded small, even to me. Trust no one connected to this case. Not even me, technically. She took a steady breath. There's a safety deposit box at First National downtown, registered under the name Claire Winston. The key is behind a loose brick in the southwest corner of the Madison Park fountain. Teresa, that's an old-school dead drop. I know. It can't be hacked. Inside the box is an untraceable phone, cash, and documents. Use them. Then what? Stay hidden until I contact you through that phone only. We're cleaning house internally before moving forward. This could take days. The bathroom door opened and 2 women walked in, laughing about a movie. I lowered my voice. What about the evidence against Preston? Against Valerie? We have enough to prosecute the forgery scheme, Teresa said. But the money laundering network is bigger than we thought. Powerful people are involved. Cameron offered me $5 million to recant my testimony. Teresa went quiet. That's significant. Did you take it? The thumb drive is in my pocket. Evidence, not temptation. Good. She hesitated. One more thing. He mentioned Moretti to you. What was that about? My stomach twisted. A mistake from my past, my first year as an authenticator. I authenticated a painting that later turned out to be fake. My supervisor covered it up. How bad? Bad enough to end my career if it surfaced now. Teresa sighed. They really do have dirt on everyone. Listen, Iris. Whatever happens in the next few days, remember why you started this? Remember what's true. The line went dead. I left the station through a service exit, walking 6 blocks through the rain before hailing a taxi toward Madison Park. The driver chatted about the weather, oblivious to the fact he was transporting a woman whose life had imploded just hours earlier. The park was deserted, streetlights stretching long shadows across wet pavement. I found the fountain easily, a granite monstrosity with water cascading down 3 tiers. The brick in the southwest corner was slightly discolored, loose beneath my fingers. Behind it, wrapped in plastic, was a small metal key. 30 minutes later, I sat in a 24-hour diner 3 miles from the bank, examining the contents of the safety deposit box. The phone was a basic prepaid model. The cash totaled $10,000 in hundreds. The documents included a driver's license and passport under the name Claire Winston, bearing my photograph, along with a one-way train ticket to Chicago departing the next morning. As I sipped bitter coffee, my thoughts circled Cameron's words. We've been watching you for years. How many others were they watching? How many had been corrupted or coerced into silence? I thought about Valerie's assistant, Michelle, always tense around her boss. About Javier in Restoration, who abruptly quit last year after questioning a collection's provenance. About collectors who might not even know they owned elaborate fakes. This wasn't just about me anymore. My original phone buzzed with a message from Reed. They're tracking your phone. Ditch it. They hurt me bad. Hospital. Need to talk. Possibly a trap, but Reed had helped me escape. Maybe he was trying to make things right. I paid for my coffee and left, stopping at an electronics store to buy a cheap laptop with cash. In a nearby hotel lobby, I used guest Wi-Fi to create a new email under a false name and sent a message to the only person outside Preston Auction House I truly trusted. Dr. Amara Okafor, my graduate school professor and the foremost expert in authentication technologies. Emergency. Need your expertise. Can you meet? Her reply came within minutes. My office. 1 a.m. service entrance. The university campus was silent at that hour. I moved through shadows, watching for followers as I reached the art history building's rear door. Amara waited inside, her tall frame silhouetted by hallway light. You look terrible, she said, pulling me in. It's been a day. Her office was a cluttered sanctuary of books, artifacts, and cutting-edge scanning equipment. She locked the door and drew the blinds. Your message sounded urgent. What happened? I told her everything. The forgery scheme, the money laundering, Cameron's threats, the compromised investigation. Her expression darkened as I spoke. Preston Auction House, she murmured when I finished. I've had suspicions about their attributions for years, but nothing concrete. I need your help, Amara. Not just for me, but for everyone they've defrauded. She tapped her fingers thoughtfully. You mentioned the Moretti incident. Your authentication mistake. Shame burned my cheeks. Yes. Show me. I pulled up images of the Moretti painting I'd authenticated 7 years earlier, a supposed Caravaggio school depiction of Saint Sebastian. Amara studied it closely. What made you believe it was authentic? The brushwork matched period technique. The composition aligned with the Caravaggio school. The canvas age appeared correct. And what revealed it as fake? Pigment testing showed traces of titanium white, a modern component. Amara zoomed in, her expert eyes tracing details that had haunted my nightmares. Iris, she said slowly, I don't think you made a mistake. What? Look at the craquelure pattern here and here. She pointed to fine cracks in the paint. That's consistent with 17th century aging, and these brush strokes, unmistakably period technique, But the modern pigments? They could have been introduced during restoration, she said, leaning back, or falsified in the test results. My mind raced. You think the test results were manipulated? But why would someone do that? To control you, she said simply. To create leverage. To make you believe you had a career-destroying mistake buried in your past. The implication struck me like a physical blow. If they lied about Moretti, what else had they lied about? Amara's eyes were kind but unwavering. The real question is, what are you going to do about it? That question followed me as I left the university campus an hour later. What could I do? I was one person facing a powerful network with seemingly unlimited reach and resources. I thought about Reed in the hospital, if he was really there. About Teresa fighting corruption from inside. About William Preston, who had built an empire on beauty and lies. Most of all, I thought about Valerie, who had mentored me, then used me, then tried to destroy me. As dawn broke over the city, I found myself standing outside the small art gallery where I'd been offered a job the year before. The position I'd turned down to stay loyal to Preston. The owner, Daniel, was already inside, preparing to open. When he saw me through the glass, his eyebrows lifted in shock, and he rushed to unlock the door. Iris, my God, are you okay? You're all over the news. The news? He pulled up a site on his tablet, and the headline sent ice through my veins. Preston Auction House Scandal. Whistleblower Iris Lockwood missing after federal raid. Beneath it was my official Preston portrait alongside photos of agents removing boxes from the auction house. Another article followed, worse than the first. Art authenticator with history of fraud allegations disappears amid investigation. They're saying you falsified evidence against your employers after they found discrepancies in your work, Daniel said carefully. But that's not true, is it? No, I whispered. It isn't. They were rewriting the story, turning me into the criminal, and with the investigation compromised, who would challenge it? Daniel rested a hand on my shoulder. What do you need? The answer came immediately. Safety, justice, revenge. But more than anything, I needed my truth back. I need your scanner and photography equipment, I said, and I need to contact collectors I trust. He didn't hesitate. Whatever you need, my gallery is yours. As I began setting up, my burner phone buzzed with a message from Teresa. Internal investigation proceeding. Stay dark. Trust no official channels until you hear from me. I stared at the screen as a plan crystallized. Preston Auction House had spent years building an empire on authenticating beautiful lies, creating leverage over employees, clients, even federal agents. But they'd made one fatal mistake. They had framed the wrong authenticator. I had spent my life learning to separate truth from forgery, and now I would apply that skill not just to art, but to the fraud wrapped around my own life. Daniel, I said, turning to him with steady resolve. I need one more thing. Name it. Access to your client list, especially anyone who bought from Preston in the last 5 years. His eyes widened as understanding set in. You're going after them. All of them. No, I corrected him, a cold smile forming. I'm going to authenticate them. As the morning light strengthened, I began making calls. The first went to a collector named Helen Zhang, who had paid $3.7 million for a Ming Dynasty vase through Preston the year before. Miss Zhang, my name is Iris Lockwood. We need to talk about your vase. The wheels of my revenge were turning. 3 weeks passed. I lived in the shadows, moving between safe houses arranged by Daniel and Amara. The news continued branding me a disgruntled employee who fabricated evidence against the prestigious Preston Auction House. My professional reputation was destroyed. My face appeared on industry warning bulletins. Cameron Preston gave interviews expressing concern for my mental health. suggesting the pressure of authentication had driven me into conspiracy. Valerie was cast as the victim of my resentment. William Preston spoke publicly of his family's five-generation commitment to artistic integrity. And all the while, the truth waited patiently to be revealed. They thought they had won. They were wrong. For 3 weeks, I worked without stopping. I contacted 47 Preston clients directly, focusing on those who had purchased significant pieces through private channels. Each conversation followed the same progression: initial suspicion, then curiosity, then growing alarm as I helped them understand what they truly owned. Using Daniel's equipment, I created detailed authentication packets for each collector, documenting the unmistakable signs of forgery in their prized possessions. Microscopic photography, materials analysis, side-by-side comparisons with authenticated works. My expertise, once used to protect Preston, now became the weapon turned against them. But I didn't stop there. Working with Amara, I traced the real destinations of the authentic pieces that had been swapped for fakes. We built a comprehensive database, pairing forgeries with their authentic twins, connecting sellers to buyers, following money trails through shell companies and offshore accounts. The collectors' reactions ranged from fury to devastation to cold, focused resolve. I brought them together into a single force: wealthy, influential people who had been deceived and now possessed both proof and motive. Helen Zhang proved invaluable. As a banking executive with deep political connections, she opened doors that had always been closed to me. When we discovered her Ming Dynasty vase had been diverted to a Chinese government official tied to organized crime, her resources became effectively limitless. Teresa stayed in minimal contact through our secure channel, fighting her own war inside the agency. Reed had been telling the truth. He was hospitalized, beaten badly after helping me escape, and now cooperating, supplying internal security protocols and access codes. By the end of the 3rd week, we were ready. On Monday morning, I walked through the front doors of Preston Auction House for the first time since my escape. The security guard froze. "Miss Lockwood, you're not supposed to—" "I have an appointment," I said calmly, continuing toward the elevators. He reached for his phone, but I was already ascending to the executive floor. The auction house buzzed with preparation for its biggest event of the year, the International Collectors Showcase. Display cases gleamed with artifacts from across centuries and continents. Staff rushed past with clipboards and tools until heads began turning and whispers followed in my wake. Valerie's office door stood open. She was at the window, phone pressed to her ear. When she turned and saw me, the color drained from her face. "I'll call back," she said quietly, setting the phone down. "You've made a serious mistake coming here." "Have I?" I stepped into the center of her office, setting my bag on a chair. "I thought we should talk about Moretti." Uncertainty flickered across her expression before her practiced confidence returned. "Your authentication failure is hardly relevant now." "That's the thing about authentication," I said, pulling a file from my bag. "Sometimes you need a second opinion." I laid Amara's full analysis on her desk, complete with proof that the original pigment tests had been falsified. "You manufactured my career-ending mistake. You created leverage over me before I even knew to be afraid." Valerie's eyes darted toward her phone. "Whatever story you're telling yourself is being live-streamed to 47 defrauded Preston clients right now," I said, holding up my phone, the broadcast active. "Say hello to your victims." Her composure finally cracked. "Security will be here any second." "They're a little busy," I replied. "The FBI's art crime unit, the real one, not your compromised contacts, is executing search warrants throughout the building as we speak. Agent Lin sends her regards." Raised voices echoed from the gallery, followed by the unmistakable sound of federal agents announcing themselves. "That's impossible," Valerie whispered. Cameron assured me. Cameron's private jet was denied takeoff clearance an hour ago at the executive airport, I said calmly. Something about an Interpol alert. The blood drained completely from Valerie's face. You don't understand what you've done. The people involved understand perfectly, I replied. They've all received copies of the evidence, including transaction records linking them directly to international money laundering operations. Helen Zhang was especially thorough in tracing the financial networks. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. William Preston appeared in the doorway, his face gray, hollowed. Behind him stood Agent Lin and two other federal agents. It's over, William said quietly to his daughter-in-law. They know everything. Teresa nodded to me once. Professional, distant. This wasn't personal anymore. This was justice. Valerie Preston, Teresa said, stepping forward with handcuffs. You are under arrest for fraud, forgery, conspiracy to commit money laundering, and witness intimidation. You have the right to remain silent. As Valerie was led away, William remained standing, suddenly looking ancient. My son? He asked hoarsely. In custody in Beijing, I answered. The Chinese authorities were very interested in the authentic artifacts that vanished from their national museums and resurfaced in private collections. William nodded slowly. And me? That depends on your cooperation, Teresa said. We know you weren't just a figurehead. He sank into a chair, defeat etched into every line of his face. I built this place to preserve beautiful things, he murmured. Somewhere along the way, we became the thieves we claimed to protect against. As federal agents flooded the auction house, I walked through the main gallery one last time. Display cases that once filled me with wonder now stood as monuments to calculated deception. Yet among the forgeries were genuine masterpieces, real art that had survived centuries only to be used as currency in a criminal machine. What happens to your career now? Teresa asked as she fell into step beside me. I've received 7 job offers this week, I said. Turns out collectors value someone who tells them the unvarnished truth about what they own, even when it hurts. Especially then. We reached the front entrance where news crews waited, cameras flashing like lightning. My phone buzzed with a message from Daniel. You're trending worldwide. The art authentication whistleblower. Ready to tell your story? Teresa asked. I squared my shoulders and stepped into the light. My voice, once controlled by threats and leverage, would now be heard by everyone. In the end, my revenge wasn't just exposing their crimes or watching them led away in handcuffs. It wasn't seeing Cameron's network collapse or Valerie's mask finally shatter. My revenge was reclaiming my story, my truth, my gift. As I faced the cameras, I thought of everyone who had trusted me to separate real from fake, authentic from forgery. I thought of those who had seen the truth, but were afraid to speak it. My name is Iris Lockwood, I began, and I'm here to authenticate the truth.